So what's on the docket for today?
What's today? Today is what are we? Nine
August 5th?
weeks, 10 weeks in. How
Yeah,
many episodes
something
we
like
got?
that.
I think I put up.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
so
you
I
stopped
put
numbering them.
up.
I
Yeah, I put
think
the
it's
eighth one up.
yeah. So this is 9?
Yeah,
Oh,
this will
interesting.
be 9. So what's that? 2 months and 1 week. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I was thinking this week because I've watched a whole bunch of fucking movies and documentaries and shit, and I'm noticing a weird trend that all of a sudden just started happening. Like Y2K, I think was the downfall of fucking everything because everybody started getting sensitive and shit when the year 2000 hit.
Yeah, it's been crazy lately. It's been getting worse and worse, like trigger warnings on everything, and yeah. There's like a
Like,
group of people that don't know how to live in society without trigger warnings these days.
and they're this it baffles me because they're the same people who eat Tide Pods.
Yeah.
They're so scared of being offended and hurt emotionally, but they'll gobble down a tub of fucking Tide Pods and they'll be like, yeah, that was fun. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, come on. Don't make me call you some fucking she, her, him, they, whatever, and go snack on a Tide Pod. Like, fucking, you just look fucking retarded. But it's funny because did you watch the Woodstock documentary on Netflix yet?
No, I haven't yet. I will probably soon. Looks interesting.
It is awesome. And it's not just awesome because of how everything happened, but it's awesome because it's the 30-year anniversary of the first Woodstock. So it's basically boomers setting up Woodstock for like zennials and millennials and shit, right? And we both know that that's two different fucking eras of people, two different generations of people, because they were talking about they mentioned a frat boy feeling, like the climate at Woodstock wasn't what they wanted. And I'm like, well, look at what you had in 69 going on music wise, and then look at what you're got going on in 99 for that Woodstock. It's the exact opposite. Like, sure, Rage Against the Machine played. Cool, yeah, that kind of worked into Woodstock, but it doesn't work in Woodstock anymore because now Rage Against the Machine is being fucking canceled by people who were into Rage Against the Machine, like myself. And fucking they even had they had Willie Nelson playing, but apparently Willie Nelson wasn't in the first Woodstock. So I'm like, why did you bring Willie Nelson into this Woodstock? And it just doesn't make sense the way they tried to do everything. But it's definitely worth a watch because it is a riot. Because there's one guy, I can't remember his name, but he was doing the main PR for it. And I'm sure to this day he thinks it was a fucking success. It is so funny just to watch him try and talk around the shit, and the whole documentary is just opposing what he said.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. But what did they expect, really? I mean, they threw a big, huge festival, and they didn't expect it to have a frat boy mentality. I mean, come on, a music festival. What did
Well,
they really expect?
I could see doing a music festival having a welcoming area or a welcoming feeling, but you can't just have, this sounds bad, but you can't just have male heavy metal, hard rock, techno, shit like that. You can't just have that if you want everybody to feel welcome. you have to have like, you got to throw in like rap, you got to throw in like country. Like if you want everybody there, don't just put what's in the top charts of like the frat boy frat house, right? Like don't walk in there and be like, who would you like to see at a concert? Canvas the whole campus and see what they'd want to see. But they obviously just went to like fucking loudwire.com or something like that, and we're like, yeah, these artists look good, there's a lot of people talking about them, we'll do that.
Yeah. I don't know if metal would bring in a lot of frat boys, but I guess it did. Seems kind of weird.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know that Metallica played at Woodstock 99.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And because like I was looking through just to see like how many female acts were in the Woodstock 99 list. There were some fucked up names that I couldn't even pronounce that probably were women. But like the only one that rang a bell for me was Jewel. And it's like, yeah, okay. Like, and oh no, it was Jewel and Sheryl Crow. So Sheryl Crow was getting pissed off because all the guys in the audience were screaming, "Show me your tits." And she was just getting mad. It's like, bitch, look in front of you. It's nothing but guys. Yeah, they're going to be screaming, "Show me your tits," because there's a girl on top of them with her top off. And she's probably screaming, "Show me your tits," too. Like, know your audience.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't believe that really affected her. She's supposed to be a professional. Like, just do like sing your song and then leave.
And it definitely got to watch it.
There's way too many performers that are way too full of themselves and like, you're basically the new world version of a court jester
Yeah.
or a bard. So, just sing your little song or act your little part and then go away. We don't need to hear
Yeah.
your politics. We don't need to hear what you're offended by. And people put way too much stock into celebrity opinions. In my opinion, I think it's just way overblown.
And the funniest part is like, I've been to a bunch of different concerts. I did security for different concerts. Like I know there's always going to be tits at a concert. Like fucking what was it? AC/DC in Moncton. They had it was what was it? The Answer, AC/DC, and Anvil were playing, and there was tits on like the jumbotron screens for every single act, and it was just because people were getting drunk and stoned, and there's a camera, right? Like that's the reason Girls Gone Wild fucking skyrocketed in the 90s, because there was a camera.
Yeah, I
Chicks
mean,
wanted to show their tits on cameras.
same with heavy MTL. Like
Yeah.
there was like there was a chick on her like boyfriend's shoulders right behind me, and like every freaking song she was showing her tits.
Yeah.
So, and like the jumbotron was showing like everybody, and like yeah, like 90% of the people of the girls that they showed that were on their boyfriend's shoulders flashed. It's like it's almost like it's kind of tradition for like concerts, especially like rock concerts and metal
Oh,
concerts.
it's 100% tradition. And
So for someone like that to be all like offended and just sing your song. You don't have to show your tits.
yeah,
You don't have to like do anything except do your little song and now
yeah,
leave.
your song and
And
dance.
and the next person comes out. Like for her to get offended on stage, like come on, really? You're
Yeah.
supposed to be a professional? So stupid.
And like, cause I remember when I seen Metallica in Halifax, there was like 10 bands playing, and there was still chicks showing their tits, but every time the camera would see them showing their tits, the camera would cut and go to a different one. And it's like, yeah, okay, like they got their 2 seconds on the screen, everybody's seen the tits, and you go to someone else. They were unintentionally going from tits to tits to tits because they didn't want to be showing tits. You know what I mean? Like instead of just one camera on one person the whole time, they were going to a person, she'd show her tits, and they would be like, "Oh shit, we got to go somewhere else." And then she'd show her tits, and then they go somewhere else. And it's like, well, yeah, like, cool, keep it up, keep jumping around. We don't mind seeing everybody's tits.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I know for sure there's a whole atmosphere around it, and it's been like that I think probably since the 60s. Like I don't know if there was like people doing that in the 60s or not, but
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
it definitely goes back to like the 70s and like the whole like late 60s summer of love thing where
Yeah.
people were running around half naked and banging in the back of Volkswagen buses and stuff like that.
And like, I know it didn't happen in the 50s because the 50s was all like fucking like conservative, right? Like, there would be girls in like skirts and like school uniforms rushing the stage. And then you jump to the 60s and you get like fucking Woodstock, and there's naked people fucking everywhere. Literally, naked people fucking everywhere.
Right. And it's only gotten further down that path, I think. But yeah, I think if something like that happened today, it would probably even blow that out of the water. I think people would be even more degenerate.
Well, I don't think, I think it would happen like maybe once at the concert, and then like everybody would be like, hold on, those don't look natural. Okay, that that wasn't born a woman. And then everybody would get pissed off.
Yeah, that kind of puts a whole other dynamic into the whole situation, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then like well, I told you about the movie I just watched. Fuck, what was it called? Oh, it was called They Them with Kevin Bacon in it. So
Yeah.
that was it. It's a Blumhouse movie, which is the only reason I gave it a shot in the dark to watch, because I'm like, all right, like maybe they could do something good with it. They didn't. uh, fuck. Yeah. I mean, do you
So,
care if I give spoilers about it? Because you're probably not going to watch
nah,
it.
I don't care. I'm not gonna ever watch it.
There was 6 kills in it. It's what, an hour and 40 minutes long, I think, around 100 minutes. They didn't actually kill anybody until like 80, 82 minutes into it. And then it was bam, bam, bam. All the deaths happened. And then there was no more deaths after that. So, like, the last 15 minutes, there was no deaths. And the first 80 minutes, there was no deaths.
So,
And it was supposed to be like it, they kind of made it, they, I'm sure they wanted to make it feel like Friday the 13th, but it fucking didn't. Because it took place at like a gay conversion therapy camp, and it was on a lake and all that shit, and like there was like gay kids making out and shit, but none of the gay kids died.
yeah, I assume it is like super woke, was it?
Uh Not really, no. Like it uh no. Like it kind of didn't play the woke card the way that lots of other movies are playing them, but it just focused on like the gay part of it, right? Like there was literally only one character in it that went by they them pronouns, and that was of course like the hero, the end, the whatever, the antagonist, the protagonist, whatever the fuck word it is. That
Right.
was like the hero of the movie was they them. That was their pronouns. Everybody else went by like their names, and then this person who had to be the hero went by they them, not their name.
Hmm. Okay.
But
Yeah, I don't really.
like watching that right after I watched the new Predator movie was like, huh, okay. Predator started with like death like right off the fucking bat. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, like it's an action movie, like sure it's going to go into that, and then they them is like supposed to be like thriller suspense. No, fucking it was just like I took a break like halfway through just to play around on my fucking virtual box because I needed a break to be able to finish the movie. Otherwise, I would never would have finished it.
Yeah, so that's. I wasn't gonna watch it anyway, but now I'm definitely not gonna watch it.
Yeah, and like I, I don't know if I'd watch another Blumhouse movie after this because it normally Blumhouse movies are fucking awesome, but now they're I don't know. This is the
Yeah,
downfall.
they're usually good from what I remember.
Yeah,
And I know that a lot of companies are trying to go woke, and a lot of them are like really struggling financially now. So I think a lot of these are gonna go through the whole go woke, go broke, and then try to make a bounce back with like regular movies that aren't like super woke and, you know,
yeah,
pandering. And yeah, so I think some of them are going to make a comeback, but I think a lot of them are just going to go under because they see things like Twitter and they think that Twitter is the majority. They think like the Twitter majority is the real life majority, which
yeah,
is a fallacy. The woke people seem to gravitate towards Twitter, so it gives them an unhealthy majority. And it's not realistic, and it's not representative of, you know, what actually is and what percentage of people are woke and just regular people, because the vast majority of people don't really care about the pronouns of the main character. They
right,
want
yeah,
a story that's actually going to be good, and a plot, good storytelling, all those things.
yeah,
And yeah, so a lot of these places are skipping on the storytelling and the plot and just making it a they them main character and trying to pander to a percentage of people which they think is overrepresented when it's not. And this is
yeah,
why you keep seeing these companies going broke after doing this, and it's eventually the market's gonna straighten itself out, and there's
but
gonna
I'm
be
dumb.
yeah, there's gonna be who's left, right? And yeah, there's a lot of places or a lot of companies still just being normal companies. Thank God. There's still
Yeah,
a few out there.
and I thought if anybody was gonna stay normal, it was gonna be like a horror movie production company, right? Like that's something that you can afford to just do whatever the fuck you want in because that you're known for horror, you're known for gore, you're known for not giving a fuck. Like that's the whole horror genre. Instead of just doing like rom coms, right? Like rom coms is what they pay the bills. We just do it. We just pay the bills with it. That's it. We don't expect anything more than it. But horror movies, they build a massive cult following, and that's what the cult following loves is just people who don't do what the fucking societal norms want them to do. They go outside the box with fucking blood and guts and everything.
Yeah, that's true. Um, there's been a lot of semi woke movies, where there's like a female protagonist, and you know she's like an ultra feminist or whatever and kicking these guys' asses. And back in like the early 2000s 90s or whatever, we were still like, yeah, whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. But then when you're like shoving it, every single TV show, every single movie has like a non-binary, a gay person, and a trans person. It's just like, really? That's not realistic. I
Yeah.
mean, to me, to me, it's just I'm trying to get every possible demographic into my movie to represent everybody as possible without focusing on making a good show or a good movie.
Yeah, and like a, a lot of people, like, you could just show a gay person in a movie, and like if they end up dying having gay sex because of just a regular serial killer who's killing everybody, kills them, cool, that's fine. But don't have the gay people be the only people living when the serial killer is killing fucking everybody. No, that takes away from the story, because you're showing, you're elevating what we're so used to seeing normalized is just everybody dies. But now not everybody dies. In like a mass murder movie, everybody should die. You don't just preserve the gay people. You don't preserve the fucking rainbow crowd.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, if they kill gay people in movies, people will say, "Oh my God, they're normalizing attacking LGBTQ people. This is terrible. Boycott this movie." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they're trying like so hard to like walk this like fine line, and when in reality, they're just pandering to a small minority of people. Most people do not think this way. Most people are not Twitter people. The quicker people realize that and the quicker companies realize that, the better. But like having, like you said, the only character that survives, a gay character, when any other time every character would die,
yeah,
is just pandering. And the fact that people can't see through it, like even people on like the far left that are like super woke, if they can't like see through the fakeness of these companies pandering to them, it really says more about them than it says the companies, because the companies, they're just trying to make money. They don't really give a fuck about your pronouns. They're just
yeah,
trying to make a buck, and if they can make a buck off of you by turning their symbol to a pride symbol during Pride Month, and you'll buy extra stuff from them, they will do that.
yeah. And they only do it during Pride Month or Pride Week.
and
After that, they
only
go
in
back
place
to normal.
and only in
And
places where it's acceptable. You won't
yeah,
see it in the Middle East. You won't
yeah,
see
no,
the Middle East section of Audi changing their symbol to the pride symbol. You know why? Because the opposite effect would happen over there.
yeah. Well, yeah, because it's what is mostly Muslim.
So are you really an ally if you're only an ally when it's popular? I don't think so.
Yeah, and that's what people are forgetting is like, sure, you got your Pride Week, your Pride Month, your Pride Day, whatever it is, but the people that only make it a point to celebrate that one day, that one week, that one month, aren't people you want with you. You want people who do it all year round. You don't want people who make it a point to only do it at certain times. Those That's toxicity right there. Is someone
Yeah.
who's just doing shit to show you like, hey, look at what I'm doing for you. You should like this. You should spend your money on my product. And then the end of the month comes by and they're like, hey, what's going on? Hey, yeah. Oh yeah, you bought that from us. Cool. And they just fucking ignore you, right? Like that's
Yeah, pretty much. Like just think if you had like a friend and you had like all kinds of money and like your friends were all like always around and this particular one was always around like hanging out with you and stuff, and then as soon as you like go bankrupt and you're having a hard time like paying bills or something, that person just disappears.
yeah.
That is basically what is happening. It's just
And
like they're only in it for themselves and they're only in it for the money, and the fact that they're able to fool these people so easily, yeah, it's kind of sad.
now I'm going to use a phrase off of a TV show that I just watched. The TV show is called Swagger. It's about Kevin Durant coming up into the NBA. It's it's probably too woke for you, but it is a good show. And one of the phrases they use in it is 24-hour person. And so the way I can describe a 24-hour person is someone who, it doesn't matter if it's fucking pissing acid rain out, that person's going to get in their car and fucking go see you. They're going to drop anything. They'll be, if you need to bury a body, you call that 24-hour person. They're the people that you want around you all the time. It's just 24-hour people. And fucking, there's not enough 24-hour people because everybody just wants that 15 minutes of attention and then they just move on to the next person.
Right. That makes sense. That's pretty much what I was alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody that's only going to be with you during the good times and not going to like have your back during the hard times.
Yeah. And like it's something I've done what in the last probably in the last 4 years. I got rid of a lot of toxic people in my life because I was tired of just giving all my fucking attention, all my fucking money, all my fucking time and getting nothing in return. And it's like, you know what? Fuck you. I got no time for your bullshit. If you want to fucking call and chat and then fucking like next week you want me to do something, cool, whatever. But if every time I hear from you, you just want something from me, I got no fucking time for that shit anymore. I'm too old for that shit.
Oh yeah, 100%. I went down that road before where it was always about because I had a job and I had like money coming in and this person didn't. And anytime we hung out, they would always want me to like pay for everything. And I
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, this is getting real fucking old real quick. And like I was basically it felt like I was being like completely used and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm exiting you from my life. And anytime I would like bring it up or something, they would just like get all offended and shit. It's like, really? Nah, fuck you. And people like that in general are horrible, but there's also people that do the same thing, but also for like time. Like
Yeah.
if they only want to hang out when it's like good for them and they don't want to hang out when it's like when you want to hang out or you need somebody to talk to. It's always like yeah, it's always like about them or whatever whenever time they want to do something. And
Yeah.
I can't stand that.
No, and it's fucking it's not good for either of the people involved in it because you're one person is just enabling the other, and then the person that's enabling them is just using so much of their time and energy to do something that they don't really want to do just to make the other person happy. And like if you have to inconvenience yourself to make someone else happy and they're always wanting to be made happy, fucking chuck them. Get rid of them.
Yeah. Very like it's amazing how many people are users out there. And I don't think they know it or the people they're using know it. But when you do finally wake up and see what's going on, it's like a light bulb goes off in your head and like your
Yeah.
eyes open up and you're just like, wow, this person's actually a piece of shit. Like this
Yeah.
person doesn't care about me at all. They just care about like their themselves and anything that they can get out of you.
And that's like one test that I tell everybody to try is like I do it myself just to see what the people that I still keep around me do is if someone wants something from you and they always want something from you, even if you're on the best of terms, sometimes just tell them no and just see how they react. If they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool, like no worries," and then they revisit it the next day or a week or a month later, fucking keep them. You want them around. But if you tell them no and they throw a bitch fit and start saying like, "I did this for you, I did that for you, oh, you're ungrateful, blah blah blah," fucking get rid of them quick. Run the fuck
Yeah,
away.
absolutely. And I'm the kind of person that like doesn't like asking people for things. Like I always like don't like being the person that like if I need to like I don't know, like borrow money or something like that, I'm like the worst person for asking because I will not like ask until it's like I'm gonna get like thrown out the next day, like out of my
Yeah.
apartment or something. And like, yeah, and I just I don't know. I don't know if it's a pride thing or if it's I just don't like making people feel obligated or what it is, but I hate like being a burden on anybody. And I don't know, like people who are able to just like, oh yeah, just let me borrow money, like let me pay my rent this week or whatever, that are
Yeah.
just so like casual about it. I'll never understand like their mentality or anything.
A lot of times, like the reason, like I'm the same way. I have a hard time asking people. I have a hard time asking people for help in general because the times that we grew up in, we were told to basically just man up, just fucking like don't show emotion, don't do anything that the stereotypical man wouldn't do, and just fucking like suck it up, deal with it. You're not an adult if you can't do this. You're not a man if you can't do that. You're not a boy if you can't do that. And that's so ingrained in us because like that's the way we were raised, that's the way our parents were raised, that's the way everybody else was raised. But it's knowing that even if you have one person in your life that you can fucking like ask whatever the fuck of, at least helps because that opens the door for more communication because you start thinking like, well, if I ask that person for it and like they can do it, then you start asking more and more people. So the people that are always asking, you got a quarter for a cig? Can I borrow $20? I'll pay you back on check day, right? Like they're so used to people saying yes that it just explodes in them that, hey, if this person says yes, everybody's going to say yes to me. So it's the exact opposite of what we're used to because we're not used to people saying yes, whereas they're used to people saying yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like all bad that we were raised that way and raised in that environment because it actually gave us a backbone and a spine
Mm-hmm.
and some thick skin, man up kind of thing. And we're the last generation of people that were raised that way.
Yeah.
So nowadays, like everybody's, you know, talking about if like what offended me and you know like all this stuff, right? And that's no way to live your life, being a constant victim all the time. you know the victim mentality is a choice. You choose whether or not you want to be a victim. So if I choose not to be a victim and I say, you know what, I'm gonna like take some responsibility for my actions and I'm going to be like man up and be a man and deal with my shit, then I don't think that's such a bad thing. It does have its downsides, but I think overall,
Yeah.
compared to the way kids are being raised these days, it's definitely a lot better.
Yeah. And like, because we grew up, I don't want to say having to earn things, but earning things. Like, and it's it's because like we were able to accomplish things that needed to be accomplished instead of not accomplishing things and getting rewarded for not accomplishing things. Like because we have that with us, the generation that's out now doesn't fucking have that because they get 15th place trophies in soccer and shit like that, right? Like they get trophies just for showing up. And we'd show up and there'd be, well, I'll use my childhood for example. Playing soccer, there was a fucking tournament of like 8 teams and there's one trophy. And the trophy's for the winning team, not for one person on the winning team, not for the whole winning team, just one trophy for one team. And
What a
now
crazy
there's
concept.
trophies for fucking everybody who shows up. And it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Right. What a crazy concept.
I know
Oh, an actual winner in a sport? Come on.
it's nuts. And like I remember when I was playing hockey, we went to a tournament in fucking somewhere in Ontario. I was maybe like probably 11 or 12 at the time. And we came in fourth in the tournament. And I was so fucking pissed because I didn't get third place. Could you imagine that happening now? I'd be so happy I got fourth place because I got a trophy. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? What?
Yeah.
Why are we rewarding kids for just no? We're not even rewarding them. We're just giving them what they want. Like a reward is something that
You
you
earn.
earn. Yeah,
Yeah. It's not really a and like reward if you don't earn it, right?
yeah.
I don't think. And okay, so here's my thoughts on the whole like participation trophy thing. If I have a kid and let's say they're playing hockey and they're in a tournament and they end up not winning the tournament or whatever. Okay, let's say they got like fourth place, like
Hmm.
not very good. And they come to me and they're like, "Ah, that sucks. I'm like really sad about it." And I'd be like, "Did you try your best?" And if they say, "Yes, I did try my best," I was like, "Well, then you're a winner in my book, but
Yeah.
you're not getting a damn trophy."
Well,
You're
and it's
still
not
you're
even that.
still a winner in my book, kid.
It's for me. It's did you have fun and did you try your best?
Yeah, I'm gonna teach my kid to try their best at everything they do. No half-assing. And you know what? If you go through life like that, you're gonna do great, great things.
Yeah. And like I'm still one of those people that even if you come in ninth out of like 10 teams, I'll still take you out for fucking ice cream because as long as you tell me that you tried your best, I'm gonna reward you for trying your best. I'm not gonna reward you just for showing up and just fucking bench warming the whole fucking time. If I see you out there sweating your ass off, trying, yeah, we're gonna go get ice cream and fucking pizza and shit. Because I
Exactly.
know you worked for it.
100%. And that's the difference. That's the difference between just letting the kid lollygag through life and lollygag through the tournament and get a participation trophy. Like, what is the incentive to actually win if everybody gets a trophy?
And like the problem is they're they're so used to being rewarded for showing up that now when they just show up, it doesn't feel like reward to them anymore. They want more and more and more. So they start asking for more and more and more. And now society gives them more and more and more. We had two genders. Then there was what, four genders. Now we're up to like 40 genders. So everybody's getting what they want now.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing in life. Like, okay, let's compare participation trophies where you don't really have to do a whole lot to get rewarded and something like welfare or something, right? Like you're not doing anything and you're getting a reward every month, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you teach your kid that kind of mindset, he's going to grow up with that kind of mindset, you
Yeah.
know, and I think it is a real disservice to children to be teaching them that they don't have to work hard to get what they want out of life.
And that's it. It kind of goes back to what you said earlier is you can choose to be a victim. You can choose to just stay living off the government in a one bedroom house with four siblings, or you can choose to work your fucking ass off, move out of that one bedroom house, buy a fucking house, and start a family without the government. Like, you can choose to just coast through life, or you can choose to fucking put your foot down, stomp some shit out, and fucking go for it. And now
Yep.
everybody just wants to just coast through life happily. No one wants to put their foot down and just fucking grind.
Well, yeah, that's what a lot of people do not realize, that the majority of homeless people are homeless by choice.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been given opportunities, and some of them do pick themselves up, get a job, get themselves an apartment. Some of them, get themselves houses, whatever. Um, but some just do not want any responsibility and just want to be homeless. And I've seen it. I've seen people where they were offered a full-time job
Mhm.
and they turned it down,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, we went to school with at least one example of that where, yeah, he was in a shit home. He decided he'd rather be homeless than stay home and get the shit kicked out of him by his father. He was offered houses to live at with friends and people that he went to school with. And he said, nah, man, like I kind of like this because there's a whole lot more freedom. He was still going to school and shit. And everybody knew he was homeless. He had no qualms about being homeless because to him it was more of a community to be homeless than it was to be in a house.
Right. And no responsibilities either.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I mean,
he
still
really
gotta,
didn't have any responsibilities to the people that he lived with. And,
yeah.
you know, he could just find somewhere to sleep at night and didn't have to answer to anybody. I kind of understand it in a way, but also I don't know. I could never justify the ends to that mean, if you know what I mean. Like I could never justify that. I
Yeah,
would
like
I would I would get my act together before it came to that point.
I always need somewheres to call home. Whether it would be like it has to be for me, it has to be somewheres that I can call home with at least a couple things of my own that I know are always going to be in the same spot. I can't, I could never go through life homeless because you, even with shelters and shit, you're never guaranteed to sleep in the same bed. You're never guaranteed the same pillow. You're never guaranteed the same toothbrush and shit like that, right? And
Yeah.
that's shit that I think a lot of people take for granted is the fact that you have the ability to come home, even if it's a fucking empty house, everything in it is yours. Even if not everything in it's yours, even if at least three things in it are yours, you know that if someone took it out of there, if you're one of the people that wants to call the cops, you can do that, right? If you're on the street, you don't really have the option to call the police because you don't know who took it. You don't know when they took it. You're living on the streets, so it could have just been a city worker that got rid of it because they thought it was garbage or something, right? Like that's what people don't really understand.
Yeah. And like people like us were very like family oriented people.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for myself, I'm really lucky to have my parents to like borrow 20 bucks off of, or, if I need a place to stay, whatever, I could count on them to like, have my back. And like, I know you got your dad and I'm sure he feels the same way. So,
Yeah,
we're actually really lucky because there's some people that don't have that stability and that backing. And yeah, that's that's the reason a lot of people go down the uh routes they go down.
and I mean, even if you look at like just our relationship, there's been times where we've had to go to each other because we needed to get the fuck out of town or we just needed somewheres to go, right? Like
Yeah.
that's shit that we have. And like, I'll tell you right now, if you want to bury a body, I got a fucking shovel. Like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, same
Like,
here, bro.
a- as long as I'm still talking to people now in 2022, I'm their 24-hour person. They can call me whenever the fuck they want. I'll do whatever the fuck they want. As long as I get one beer out of it, I'm good.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, man, like it's I had to cut off a lot of people. I don't regret it one bit.
No,
Like
absolutely
uh
not.
I'm pretty happy with things right now. So it's a hard go when you don't know who you can trust.
Yeah. And the only way you can find out if you can trust them is just tell them no once or twice. Tell them no and just see how they react. If
Yeah.
if they're mad they don't get their participation trophy, eh, you don't want them.
Yeah, and especially if they like, go off and like really get pissed. Like if they're just like a little pissed, like a little, yeah, it's kind of annoying, but whatever. But the ones that are just like, flipping their shit, those are
Yeah.
the ones that are the most toxic, and you have to just eliminate those people from your life.
Yeah.
That's my advice too.
And I think a lot of it boils down to people thinking it's disloyal to cut people out of your life. But what disloyalty means to me is having people in your life who keep saying they did everything for you in the past and they just keep reminding you of how much they did for you. And then when you start to cut them out because you're tired of them just rubbing shit in your face and they call you disloyal and ungrateful and shit, you're not disloyal. You're loyal to you. You don't owe them fuck all because of shit they've done in the past for you. It's what they do in the moment that counts, not what they do in the past.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you're happy
Yeah.
before you can really start working on relationships. And it's even if you're not happy and there's toxicity in some of your relationships, it's okay to cut them off. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You
Yeah.
have to focus on your own mental health. And if that person is causing you anguish in some way, then you have to leave for your own sake.
Yeah. And if you don't want to cut them off, tell them how you feel. They'll walk themselves out the door. If as you're telling them exactly what you're feeling and they don't like it, keep telling them, keep communicating to them what you're feeling and how they're making you feel. They'll cut themselves out of your life on their own. You won't have to do the cutting out. They'll do it for you.
Yeah, 100%. As long as you're rational and, you're not overreacting and stuff like that, then yeah, for sure, 100%. Tell
I'll say
them what they're doing is not okay.
I don't even think you have to be rational. I think if you match them, that's fine. If they're acting irrational and you act irrational back at them and they get pissed because you're irrational too, that's on them because you're on their level. If they can't handle you on their level, why should you handle them on their level?
Yeah, there's also like the sentiment of like not going down to their level and being the bigger person.
Yeah, but a lot of times being the bigger person is what gets people into trouble with so many toxic people in their life because we're so used to being told to be the bigger person that it just bears the fuck down on us and we feel like we can't take the road less traveled and tell them we can't be the little person and say like, yeah, when you got a flat tire in my car, you're a fucking bitch. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, you can afford to do that once in a while. You don't have to keep people pleasing. It's so fucking hard to keep people pleasing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with setting boundaries without
Yep.
being uh super low about it, I suppose. I don't know. I like just basically cutting people off that are those kind of people. Like if somebody's really gonna like, you know, start bringing up shit and saying like you said like, "Oh, I did this for you, I did that for you." And it's like you don't have to remind me. Like, I already know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those people, that's a very toxic way to go about it. Like, you don't have to remind people what they did for you. And actually, if you have to remind people what you did for them, then they're not your friend to begin with. Because I remember every damn thing that somebody's ever done for me. And, I'm the kind of person that won't forget that. And it always factors into the way I respond or act towards somebody.
Yeah, it's I can't remember the saying that I'm looking for, but it's um uh always forgive, never forget.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's it's somewheres along those lines. That's kind of like the TLDR of what it is. But that's exactly what, like, have no problem forgiving that person for whatever the fuck they did for you, but don't forget what they did for you. If they slapped you in the face and they're sorry about it the next day, cool, they're sorry. But remember, they still slapped you in the face. So if they slap you in the face again, you're still remembering that, fuck, this is a bad trend. Like, I can't do this. Don't forget the shit, positive or negative, that happens to you.
Yeah, a lot of times, like, toxic behavior, it comes as like a constant thing. It's not
Yeah.
something that it's a one and done. So when you can start associating the toxic behavior with other things that they're doing, and you can start seeing the trends. So it's not like you're going to be like, oh, this person did this one thing to me, I'm going to cut them off. No, it's like a ongoing thing usually, and it's usually what they're doing is they're trying to manipulate you. That is
Yeah.
the main thing that people do when they're being toxic. They're trying to manipulate you into doing what they want you to do. And if you fall into that trap, you could fall into that same trap for a long, long time and not be able to get out of it. So, recognizing it and cutting it off before it starts to get a foothold is a great way. But even if it does have a foothold, you can cut it off at any time. You can cut anybody off. Like I said, like uh, Deuce said, cut it off anytime you want. You have
Yeah.
no obligation to be friends with anybody.
Yeah. There, nobody has a legal obligation to you making to make other people happy. You have no legal obligation, you have no moral obligation, you have zero obligations to make sure other people are happy. Honestly, you don't even have any obligations to make sure yourself are happy. But I mean, you should be happy. It's you don't want to be unhappy with people that are happy, because that's just as bad as being happy with people who are unhappy.
Right. I don't think I have anything more to add to that.
I I think I just fucking word vomited, to be honest.
It was a brain teaser. Uh, all right. Well, do you want to end it with that then?
Yeah, I mean, the main takeaway that everybody should have is fucking look out for number one, but don't do it in a way to broadcast the fact that you're only looking out for number one. Be there for others, but also be there for yourself. Don't leave yourself behind.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said it better.
And that, my friends, was fuck your feelings.